1999, the psychologist Daniel Simons conducted an experiment that would come to be known as the gorilla experiment. And the core of this experiment was a video in which a bunch of people in black and white t-shirts passed each other basketballs. And some of the participants watching this video also saw a gorilla. But what does an experiment with basketballs and gorillas have to do with the power of goals? Alright, so before we start, I think you get the best experience if you actually watch the original video, which I've linked somewhere up here. And for those of you who are new to the channel, hi, my name is Niklas. I graduated both my bachelor's and master's with magna cum laude. I'm now doing my PhD, and I make these videos because I've seen a lot of students struggle with finding purpose and taking charge of their lives, and I don't want you to be one of them. And with that being said, let's jump into the content. Alright. In the gorilla experiment, Daniel Simons and his colleagues let the participants watch the video in which teams in white and black t-shirts passed each other basketballs. And the goal for the participants was to count how many times the people in the white shirt actually managed to pass the ball back and forth. What the researchers didn't tell to the participants was that in the middle of a video, a guy in a gorilla suit would walk out, bump his chest for a few seconds, and then walk out the video again. The crazy thing is, only 50% of the people actually saw the gorilla. But how the hell can it happen that people watching a video don't see something like this happen? And the answer to this is selective attention, which is also one of the things that make goals so powerful. So what is selective attention? Imagine you would have taken part in the gorilla experiment. One day you've come to the lab, shaken the hands of the researchers, sit down in a chair, and then they would have explained the whole procedure to you. And because they promised you a few bucks if you properly participate in the experiment, you were really set to really do whatever they would tell you. And what they would tell you is, hey, watch the people in the white t-shirts and see how many times they passed. And then you counted the balls and you were very happy because you got it right. But then when they looked at you and asked you, have you seen the gorilla? You looked back and asked them, what the hell are you talking about? Are you crazy? And the thing that happened here is selective attention at work. So basically, while you focused really hard on counting how many times the white team passed the ball back and forth, your entire perception shrank down to the pieces of information that were really relevant for actually answering this question. But everything else that wasn't relevant for this, like the black team or the gorilla, you kind of, just filtered out and you literally didn't see. Because it wasn't important for your goal. Alright, so now we know what selective attention is, but how does this actually impact our day-to-day life? Alright, as you can imagine, something that literally changes the way you see the world has quite a lot of implications for your day-to-day life. For example, it means that you see the world differently than someone who has goals that are different from yours. And maybe think back about the argument that you had some time ago. Could it be that the differences in your opinions could actually have come from different goals that you were pursuing about the thing that you were arguing about? But of course, in real life, this is much more complicated, because in the experiment, there's one goal, but in real life, you have a lot of different goals. And this creates a dynamic that once you understand it, you can really utilize to get the most out of your goals. And this dynamic is that our goals are nested. Think about a usual day. So you get up in the morning, you put some clothes on, maybe you get a cup of coffee so you can concentrate when you go to uni. You actually go to uni, sit down in the lecture hall and listen to what the professor is saying so that you understand what the course is about, so that you will pass the exam, so that you will pass the course, so that you will actually get your degree and then finally get a job that is makes you financially independent so that you can have the life that you actually want to live. So somehow the goal of getting up in the morning is related to your overarching goal of living the life that you actually want to live. And maybe you have a vision for this and maybe not, but the point is that these two things, or across these levels of abstraction, are actually connected to each other. And this is because we don't just live in a moment like in an experiment, but we're actually extending across time. And this means we can hold multiple goals that run in parallel, and some of which are actually nested within each other. Like, for example, getting up in the morning and living the life that you want to live. Alright, but of course, most of the time we aren't aware of all these different goals and their connections. Still, we act as if we have different goals and as if it is valuable to us to pursue these goals in our day-to-day life, even though we might not be fully aware of them. And we can bring this to the next level if we understand how goals motivate us. Alright, goals motivate us if we notice that we are making progress towards one. And let's take the example from earlier again. So basically, when you get up in the morning and you're tired and it's cold outside, there are generally two ways how you can experience this. Either you really hate every bit of it and you just get up because you have to and because you're afraid of the consequences if you would just stay in bed. On the other hand, what could happen is that you actually enjoy it and that you have a positive feeling of getting up and facing the next day. And so, objectively speaking, you're doing exactly the same things, but your experience of it is drastically different. Alright, but how does this show that we're actually following goals even when we're not aware of them? And how can we use this to feel more positive emotions when we're trying to do something difficult, like getting out of bed in a cold morning? So what is important to understand here is basically what your brain does when you're approaching a goal or when you're working towards a goal. Basically what happens is that dopamine and a bunch of other neurotransmitters are released. And what they signal is a progress towards a goal. And this motivates you because your brain starts expecting a certain reward from achieving this goal. And this process makes you do more of the things that bring you closer to your goal. So that's basically all of what motivation is a force that brings you closer to a goal when you have the feeling that if you do something, you will actually get closer to this goal. And clearly the coffee alone isn't enough to get you out of bed in the morning. But if the coffee is just one step of stages towards a higher end goal, then you will do this. Because suddenly you're not only being motivated by the coffee, you're being motivated because you know that the coffee is only one step of multiple steps towards the larger goal. So basically what you're doing when you get up to get this coffee, you're also making progress towards passing the course and getting your degree to get this job that makes you financially free and gives you the life that you actually want to live. And suddenly, if you have made this connection, getting up in the morning feels much easier and might even feel good because you know it helps you make progress on the goals that are most important to you. And in a different video, I've already discussed a bit how you can relate your vision to your day-to-day behavior and thereby become more motivated to do the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So if you're interested in this, you can check this out up here. All right, so goals motivate us. And when multiple goals are stacked on top of each other, they motivate us even more. But there's one more thing that you can do that helps you to get even more motivation out of your goals. And this is to properly align our goals with each other. All right, so in an ideal world, we have all our goals perfectly aligned and we're always fully aware of what our getting up in the morning actually relates to. But in the real world, this is of course not the case. And especially if you start out, your goals might be all over the place and you might not even be aware of your more abstract goals. But this is not a problem because as we've learned, just because you're not aware of your goals doesn't mean that you don't have any. And so what you can do to get the most out of your goals is to really become aware of your larger overarching goals and connect them to your day-to-day behavior. And there are especially two things that you can do in order to do this. And the first thing is becoming aware of the things that attract your attention. If we go back to the gorilla experiment, what we saw there is that the participants were really focused on the white team because their goal was to count how many times the people in the white t-shirts pass the basketball. And for you, it's the same thing. You pay attention to the things that are relating to your goal. And this means that the other way around, by noticing what we actually pay attention to, we can infer what our goals is and what our goals are that we aren't really conscious of yet. So for example, maybe you have a habit of checking your phone in the morning. And if you then feel guilty after, this is an indication that you have a shallow goal of wanting to check your phone, but that you have a deeper goal of doing things that are actually good for you. And on a more abstract level, what you can do is you can start paying attention to, for example, the societal issues or the issues in your community that really capture your attention and that really get you emotionally riled up. And they can give you some indication about what your goals might be. And once you have become aware of these things that grab your attention or of your behaviors towards certain things, you can ask yourself, what do these things that grab my attention tell me about my unconscious goals? And this is actually similar to a mechanism that I discussed in a previous video, where we talked about how you can learn to listen to the language your body uses to tell you what it needs. Only there, it happened on a physiological level, and now we're looking at a more metacognitive level. But if you combine the two, you're not only going from feeling shitty to feeling good, but you go from feeling shitty to feeling amazing because you're not only giving your body what it needs, but you also fulfill these higher order goals that are truly important to you. And so this is one thing out of the way. And the second thing you can do in order to become more aware of your goals and align them with each other is to write about them. But that's already part of the goal setting stage, and so we're going to look at this in the next video. And so if you found this video helpful, then leave a like, and if you want to hear more about goal setting in the next video, then make sure to click subscribe and the bell icon so that you won't miss it. And thank you very much for sticking around for so long. There's a lot of effort that I put into these videos, and I appreciate every second that you spend watching them. And if you found them truly helpful to you, then maybe consider sharing them with someone else, because that gives you the chance of being part of what I'm trying to do here, which is to reach as many people as possible and help them find more purpose and take charge of their lives. And if you want to be part of this, then you know what you can do. And so with that being said, I see you in the next video.